That alone makes this fight compelling. But compelling doesn't mean safe. And it certainly doesn't mean fair. When the bell rings, hype disappears. Only skill, experience, and survival remain. And that's where this fight will truly be decided. That leads to the final question: is this a genuine attempt to shock the world, or a calculated retirement payday? Jake believes he's going to win. He said it openly. He wants respect, not for stepping in the ring, but for beating Anthony Joshua. He believes that victory would make him the king of boxing. But boxing has levels. If lighter, faster, more technical fighters have already exposed gaps in his defense, what happens when a heavyweight with fight-ending power lands clean? That's the question no highlight clip can answer. Legends like Michael Buffer have acknowledged the cultural impact Jake Paul has had. He's brought a new generation into boxing. He's changed promotion forever. And whether purists like it or not, he's now standing face to face with one of the most dangerous punchers of this era. This is a different universe from anything Jake has faced before. Some analysts have gone further, criticizing Jake's choice of sparring partners. While talented, they don't truly replicate Joshua's style, his explosiveness, timing, and finishing instincts. Preparation matters, and mismatched sparring can create false confidence. Despite all of this, credit must be given. Jake Paul is not hiding. He's bringing in real heavyweights. He's testing himself. And that takes courage, even if the outcome looks grim. There are also concerns about health and safety. Reports of injuries in camp, including facial damage, have raised questions about whether this fight should even be sanctioned in certain regions. Critics warn that if something goes seriously wrong, the sport itself could face backlash. Yet commercially, the fight makes perfect sense. The numbers are massive. The spotlight is global. And Jake understands exactly what he's doing from a business perspective. Veteran boxing journalist Gareth A. Davies issued one of the harshest warnings yet. He's seen Anthony Joshua up close. He witnessed what happened to Francis Ngannou. And in his view, this fight represents a level of danger Jake Paul has never experienced. According to Davies, once Jake feels Joshua's size, speed, and power, especially in small gloves, survival becomes the priority. Not winning. Not entertaining. Just lasting. Others agree. Joshua isn't a clinch-heavy fighter. He doesn't smother his work. When he commits fully. And if Jake makes a mistake early, this fight could end quickly. That doesn't mean the fight is impossible to win. Boxing has taught us that nothing is impossible. But probability matters. On paper, the gap is enormous. Even those sympathetic to Jake's ambition admit this bout feels premature. Anthony Joshua is a former world champion, Olympic gold medalist, and seasoned heavyweight with years of elite experience. There's also the issue of opponent quality. If the sparring partner isn't elite, or isn't fighting back realistically, the footage becomes misleading. In boxing, who you hit matters just as much as how you hit them. Andrew Tate echoed this sentiment, suggesting that many of these heavyweights are holding back, not out of fear, but because they're paid professionals doing a job. Their goal isn't to derail a megafight by injuring the cash cow. As a result, punches lack full intent, pressure is reduced, and realism suffers. To boxing purists, this is frustrating. Fighters grinding through amateur circuits, struggling financially, often feel overlooked while influencer-driven bouts generate massive paydays. Yet even critics admit one thing: Jake Paul brings eyes to boxing. And attention, whether welcomed or not, keeps the sport alive. But attention doesn't protect you in the ring. Not because they can't, but because that's not how sparring works, especially when one side is the main attraction. Anthony Joshua himself has addressed this directly. He's been clear: sparring knockouts don't mean much if they're selectively edited. Real sparring is intense, yes, but it's also fair. The ring on fight night is where the truth comes out. Still, Joshua doesn't dismiss Jake Paul outright. In fact, he's been consistent in giving credit where it's due. Jake has committed himself to boxing. He trains seriously. He's improved, And for that alone, he deserves a level of respect as a boxer, not as a novelty. But respect doesn't erase reality. Many analysts have pointed out that the sparring clips released publicly only show highlights, moments where punches land clean or partners go down. What we don't see are full rounds, sustained pressure, defensive exchanges, or moments where Jake is tested. Without that context, it's impossible to fairly judge his readiness. This isn't friendly competition. This isn't exhibition energy. This is war. When fighters step into a real fight camp, respect exists, but it's secondary. You can acknowledge a man's journey, his success, and still understand that once the bell rings, none of that matters. This is not about sparring clips or promotional moments. This is about survival in the ring. That's why sparring itself is such a misunderstood topic. Real sparring isn't about trying to injure your training partner or knock them out cold. The goal is learning, timing, distance, reactions. It's controlled violence, not chaos. And that's exactly why many in the boxing world are questioning the sparring footage coming out of Jake Paul's camp. Several elite heavyweights, names like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Oakley, have been linked to these sessions.